Very good evening and welcome. You're watching the India Development Debate. I'm Tamanna Inamdar. Is it any more a big deal to become a crorepati employee? It might be a huge aspirational figure, but a recent report has revealed that as many as 205 managers at Hindustan Unilever took home more than 1 crore rupees in annual salary in FY23. The salary figure of the number of people taking home 1 crore rupees actually rose by 25% from the previous year. Last year, 163 managers from the company took home that fat pay package. It must be noted that 1/3 of these crorepatis, and this is where it gets really interesting, 1/3 of these crorepati managers are below the age of 40. Though this is a downgrade from HUL's point of view, because earlier, half the crorepati managers used to be under the age of 40. This is still better than thousands of other companies in India. So is this the new target, the new goal to reach the 1 crore mark, and that too under the age of 40? Is this what the top managerial salary is right now? Is this the new benchmark? What are the sectors that give you this kind of a pay package? We're talking about that this evening, but first, let me go across to my colleague Harsh, who's giving us more details on this story.
Right, 205 managers from HUL have been paid 1 crore plus in the year FY23. This is 25% higher than FY22. Let's also break down the numbers a little bit more. So in terms of age, earlier below 40, at least over the last decade, 50% of those taking home 1 crore plus were below 40. This time around, it's just a third, which is 33% of the managers who've taken home over 1 crore are below the age of 40. Let me also roll back a little bit with regard to why HUL is a place where managers are paid highly for their skills. One is HUL is largely treated as a factory with regard to leaders. They've been recruited, or leaders to Godrej Consumer, Hershey's, as well as Colgate-Palmolive have been recruited from HUL itself. So that's one of the characteristics that demarcates HUL from the rest. The other is also the fact that salaries in general in FY23 and over the last few years have remained quite elevated. So to keep talent has been where the challenge is, and that's also one of the reasons why salaries have been higher. But 205 is that number which HUL have paid in terms of the number of people they've paid 1 crore plus in terms of their remuneration too.
Harsh, putting that into perspective, but is this a trend that goes beyond HUL or the top companies? What's happening in the startup space, for example, at a time when we're talking about a shrinking base of salaries, etc.? To get some perspective, I'm joined today by Prabal Basu. He's director and board advisor. Samir Parikh, founder of Tamanna HR, is with me on the show today. I'm speaking with Sashi Kumar, MD of Indeed India. Shantanu Rooj, founder and CEO of TeamLease Edtech, also on the show with me. Welcome to all of you, and thank you so much for speaking with us. Prabal, let me begin with you. Is this the new normal? Are we living in an alternate universe where we're getting excited about this 1 crore figure, that too for people under 40?
It depends on which industry you're talking about. As far as technology is concerned, which is where I sort of do most of my work, in technology, about a crore type of salary has been something like a new normal for last few years. The interesting thing, though, is, and this is quite interesting, is that the age bracket is falling for that. While earlier it was around the 40-ish range, as you rightly said, there are people who who I had advised, young people, that you must have a goal of 40 by 30. That's what I had told them when they passed out of IIMs and XLRIs. So they are getting about 90 at 30, 90. So it really depends on the sort of work you're doing. But in technology, especially if you're in the right skills, and if you're a product owner, a product manager, product owner, who understands the nuances of product, not a developer. The developers are lesser paid than this. But a product owner, they will be in that range. And as far as managers are concerned, yes, by 35-ish, that will be the sort of range which we will get to. So it depends on the industry, really.
Industry, but it's been par for the course in the tech sector. Shantanu Rooj also with us on the show today. Shantanu, which are the spaces which command this kind of a salary? And we're not just talking about the creme de la creme or only the very few corner suites or C-suites. This seems to be more prevalent.
So Tamanna, I think organizations today realize the benefit of investing in their teams, right? And there we are looking at an era where the leaders are being created. So if you look at team members who bring in the right type of education background, right type of pedagogy, right type of experience and skill sets, if you have got that to demonstrate, I think their employers are willing to invest in you and while they create their future leaders. This is available in multiple job roles. You'll find them in the product role, you'll find them in marketing roles, you'll find them in leadership roles, you'll find them in sales roles. I think in multiple roles, organizations are looking at creating their leaders and are willing to flex backwards to pay them a very, very highly competitive salaries to ensure that they retain these talents too.
Okay. So, of course, this is in leadership roles where you would see more of this. Let me go across to Sashi Kumar of Indeed India. Is this becoming the new normal, Sashi?
Hope so. It's great to see companies put out this kind of information. While yes,
company with great amount of transparency, so they probably have to. What we're interested in is what's happening everywhere else.
So again, I think it is mostly dependent on industry. Is your question around salaries going up or people putting out the information? I'm sorry, I joined a little.
Salary is going up. Not everyone's going to put out that information. They've given us a clue.
Yes. So there are two parts to this. One, obviously, there are industries and roles for which there continues to be strong demand. Irrespective of which industries, as long as demand is strong, the pays are going to be high. The second part is a transparency. In fact, that's something which we are seeing in the last 1 year. At Indeed, we've seen a 67% increase in companies putting out pay ranges along with their job descriptions. Almost 42% of all our openings have a pay range. And to me, that is a bigger story where companies are today willing to go out and talk about the kind of salaries that they're paying. It has a bigger and greater impact on society with respect to companies being more equitable, increasing transparency, and possibly increasing diversity by being able to put out salary-related information.
Okay. We want to just get an overview right now of how large this trend is. And Samir, it would be great if you come in and give us a sense that is this specific to large MNCs and FMCG space alone?
Thanks, Tamanna, for inviting. I would say, no, it is not specific just to the technology companies. Of course, the numbers may be more in some of the industries, but it is across the industries. In fact, top management or the senior executives of small and medium-scale enterprises also, if they are from certain type of A-class cities, because where these roles are is very, very important, from which location they are operating, because basis that there is a significant impact on your CTC. And therefore, we see this kind of salary increase across the levels. A, as someone already said, that it is to retain talent. And B, also that salary is a great marker to convey my career growth, besides the role enrichment and the span of control and the region. Also, Indian talent and especially managerial group is becoming more and more global because of the kind of blending that is happening with multinational corporations now across the levels. So obviously the aspirations are also very high. And the impact that when those leaders decide or when they navigate any kind of implementations, I think is significant. And therefore, this kind of salaries, I would say, is justified. Transparency, I think, because the law's statutory requirement is also there above certain threshold. So that is also coming into picture. Although Shashi said that I'm not having much data about the transparency that is existing across other levels where the statutory requirements are not there. For example, privately held companies and their senior executives, what kind of salaries they are commanding. So I have some different data, but otherwise, yes, increase in salary.
Samir, why don't you share what you have in mind?
So I think sorry, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I'm asking you. Why don't you share what kind of data do you have?
No, so I would say that most of the senior executives avoid discussing their full salary package. And see, these days, the CTC is coming in multiple forms. It's not just the fixed CTC, not just the incentives, not just but I mean, the whole component of employee stock exchange plans and other such engagements. Even in the startup industry, the kind of packages which are designed, many of them we see are drawing more than 1 CR, although we may not see them in the public domain. But when we discuss with some of those youngsters, and someone said 40-30 relationship, and the new normal is 90-30. I'm quite inclined to agree with that, because in mid-30s and late 30s, people are aspiring to reach to 1 CR if they are operating from metros. Especially, I'm talking about metros. So Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore, Hyderabad. I mean, I'm right now sitting in Bangalore, and I just now, I mean, happened to meet some of the youngsters just about 1 hour back, and the kind of conversation that I had with them clearly conveyed, and it was not from IT industry. It was, of course, one of the new age, but certainly not from the IT well-established companies. And the response was that yes, we deserve higher salary. We deserve, and I think that's the key.
So, another interesting thing to understand would be how much of this 1 CR is a padded up figure and how much is really there. Shantanu Rooj, let me come to you. Since we're talking brass tacks, CTC means cost to company is one of those sort of amorphous things, isn't it? What does it mean, especially when you're at a higher bracket? It's a great sounding figure, sounds very amazing, but a lot of this would be performance based, depending on how your company performs. It would be conditional, isn't it, Shantanu?
Yeah. So Tamanna, you're right, actually. So if you see, this entire thing is, the times are different today, both from the demand side and from the supply side. There is a huge demand for high quality resources amongst startups as well as established companies. That's one side. Other side also to note, Tamanna, is the fact that on the supply side, there are a lot of people from premier institutions who used to go out of the country earlier are deciding to stay back and work for Indian companies today, which means that the supply of high quality resources is also available. So you need to ensure that you have to attract those resources and retain those resources. You need to pay them adequately well and competitive. The second part of the question, in terms of whether it's padded or not, I'm not too sure that's actually the fact, because today both the employee and the employer are smart enough today. But then obviously there is an element of performance driven variable pay, and that's rightly so, because it depends on, because some of these people who are part of the leadership, part of key roles, who get paid so highly, are expected to contribute towards the organizational goals and the growth of the organization. Because the growth doesn't happen, I think the team doesn't deserve to be paid exactly what they think they should be. So I think most of the packages that you hear in this particular range will have a component of its salaries, will have a component which is performance linked variable pay. Some of them will also have a component of employee stock options. I think it's a combination of some of these things. But the idea is not to cheat the employee, but the idea is to be fair both to the employer as well as to the employee. I think the packages are fairly transparent and fair these days.
Okay, so the packages need to be transparent. Prabal, let me come back to you about whether this is going to become the new normal going forward. And even though we're talking about, cooling off of the job market compared to post-pandemic in the tech space, etc., are there going to be more and more instances of this, especially for niche skills?
See, let me take a minute and explain this context to you. From my experience, I have seen these salaries, generally speaking, in US multinationals, number one, and in some UK-based multinationals as well. Okay, and of course, there are some Indian companies who have global sort of facing roles, and therefore they need to match up as well. So this is the general subset in which I have seen this work as the new normal, so to speak. Having said that, in the last couple of days, I had some meetings with here in Stockholm and in Gothenburg with companies which have very large operations in India. And these are European companies now, right? So I'm specifically talking about Europe. And they are finding it quite, I wouldn't say difficult, but they're finding it quite, what's the right word? They're not finding it very comfortable with their local employees because the salary levels in India now are very, very high with respect to what you have in these countries. Our tax rates are lower and our cost of living is multiple times lower. So at the savings level, the people in India are, much, much better off, this category of people. So we have to keep that in mind. So there will be a cap. It's not that there's going to be runaway at this level. I don't think so. So 130,000 US dollars for a good product manager or a good leader in sales is reasonable. But I don't think it is going to run away to $200,000 or so soon if you're, let's say, below 35 or thereabouts. So there was a large gap. That gap has been sort of made up in various companies. Some companies might take shape, but new normal would be a difficult thing to say for across the board, because manufacturing sector clearly is not there. There is no question. There's
To
just
break it
not
down,
there at the
Prabal,
moment.
if I had to break it down,
Yeah.
your MNCs, you said American-based large
American.
companies, what sectors would you say are the most lucrative?
I've seen this mainly in banking and technology. So, or let's say finance and technology. Finance will include banking and technology. These are the two things I'm very familiar with. FMCG, yes, companies like Lever, etc., Procter & Gamble, etc., would also fall somewhere there. I mean, more or less somewhere there, yes. But essentially, these three are what I am conversant about. Manufacturing, I know for a fact is there's just no comparison. It's nowhere there at the moment, nowhere there.
Okay, Sashi, would you like to elaborate on that list? Where is the moolah?
Is where there is demand. So there are three components to this, right? When you're hiring for a role, what is the expected contribution of this role to top line and bottom line? What is the value addition that this role is going to give? Is that going to be significant? Two, how easy is it for me as a company to hire that kind of a person? And whether paying out that kind of compensation justifies the role per se. If these three align, you will find that these salaries will be paid out. I don't think it's going to be, it will be industry agnostic so long as these three criteria line up. So if you have a role which is going to significantly add to your top line, it's critical for your company, and you're finding it tough to hire, the salaries will continue to go up. But Tamanna, just sort of to bring it back to what I said earlier, it's great that we see companies putting out this information. Today, we know the number of employees within a specific company that are higher, that have high salaries available. Across the world, pay transparency is something which is becoming extremely important. And yes, people don't discuss what their exact pays are, but today, companies are more and more open when they're advertising or putting out their roles. They are providing transparency around the range that you can expect to be paid for that. And to me, that is an important story. And we are seeing this driven by legislation in the United States, and we are seeing this also reflect in India. Today, as we speak, as an aggregator of job openings, we are able to see that 42% of roles available within Indeed have a pay range. And that's something which is very important. It has possibly more far-reaching impact than some numbers of crore salaries going up. It will drive more transparency, it will drive more equity, and 3, it will also drive better retention, because companies know, or employees know, that they are being paid in the range in which the company is willing to hire from outside, irrespective for most roles.
So, I mean, we love the catchy title we've given today about the crorepati club. Let's be honest, everyone wants to be a part of it. And if it's under 40, then that's definitely, something to be proud of. Thank you so much to all of you for joining us on the show this evening and speaking with us. We'll take a very short break on the India development debate. A lot more coming up on the other side. Stay tuned.